This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by, what are we calling him? The Suffolk Slugger?
No.
The Suffolk Strangler?
No.
Definitely not that. Fabio Wardley. How you doing, Fabio?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are we? How's the bubble for you?
Bubble's good, mate. Obviously, the first time I've been in one. Nice to see you in here, of course. But no, it's been great. Had a day of isolation in the room yesterday, which was nice. Don't get too much peace and quiet these days, so it's been great, mate. How about yourself? How have you found this one? Obviously, slightly different to fight camp before.
Yeah, slightly different, but a good overall good setup. I think because obviously Matchroom and stuff, they've done this once over now. They know what they're doing, so the setup, the arrangement, the organisation of everything is top level. So yeah, I'm happy. Everything's good. Just now, you're used to it now. You sit in the room, you chill, you do your day, and then you come out and it's like a little boxing kind of, not convention, but just a little party with everyone. Everyone's here that you see and know. So it's good fun.
No Lartey, no party.
Yes, no Lartey, no party. He's I've seen him about. I saw him briefly earlier. We just passed each other and gave each other a little nod to say hello, and that. Seems a nice enough guy. So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to what he's going to bring on Saturday. It's going to be fun.
Cool little catchphrase that you came up with there all by yourself. Just tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind no Lartey, no party.
Well, I'm good. I'm quite the wordsmith. So obviously, it didn't take much for me to put two and two together and come up with a cool catchphrase like that. But I may very possibly have had the slightest bit of influence from Boxing Social's Rob Tebbutt. But yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe.
I'm a huge influence on you, Fabio. There's no point hiding it now. Everybody can see that. Just before we move on, by the way, let's just clarify that Fabio Wardley wasn't waiting. I wasn't waiting for Fabio Wardley for 2 hours for a Zoom interview. The person who I was waiting for is probably not going to dig him out to our watching audience. But Fabio is nothing but professional. So just clear that up. And there is no beef. Or is there beef? Is there beef?
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how these next few days in the bubble go. We might develop some. I might get tired of being around you and there might be some beef. I might be banging on your door at 12 at night, but who knows?
There's already the baying mob from Ipswich gathered outside the hotel with their lanterns and pitchforks all at the ready for me. So you've got quite the backup, which is something that I found from kind of winding you up on Twitter, that you've already developed quite a steadfast following, aggressive following.
Yeah, aggressive Ipswich following. They're a good bunch of people, real good people, and have always been behind me. To be fair, it's lovely to see that. Like, even though me and you have the little fun back and forth, and a lot of people think it's serious or whatever else, which just adds to it. To be honest, it makes it more the fun. But yeah, it's brilliant that everyone wants to get involved and is immediately to my back and ready to jump on you and fill you in.
Yeah, it's great, mate. It's really good. Yeah, so the next time I'm in Ipswich or Suffolk, I have to watch my back, which is great. I do implore anybody who hasn't seen Fabio Wardley on the Boxing Social podcast, he stopped by, I think, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago now, to please have a look at that. But kind of leading on from that, we've spoke about pretty much everything that we could potentially speak about with your past, but let's talk about this week. Yep. Now, you're fighting Richard Lartey. That's not the person that we expected you to fight. Let's say 2-3 weeks ago, you were looking for Mr. Big Daddy Brown. Tell people why that fight's not happening.
Because he's a pussy, maybe. Can I say that? Is that allowed?
You said it now.
I'm past it now. But no, it was an annoying one, to be honest, because in the initial, there was a lot of talk. He's one for the social media. He was quite big on social media to give it a few words and say he's going to do this to me and that to me and really go for it, which was cool. I've got no problem with that. Do what you've got to do. But I don't. The thing that gets to me is when you do all that and then you take away my opportunity to punch you in your face for saying it. Is not like, that's the bit that annoys me. That's the bit that winds me up. But I don't know. He asked for a lot in the beginning. Just a lot of requests, like slightly diva-ish, but we managed to pull it all off and give him what he wanted. And then about 5-6 days later, with everything being all confirmed, signed off, said he was happy with everything. He then came back and said he was unhappy with the fact that he had to go home and quarantine after he'd been here, which was something he knew in advance. Like, that was something that was discussed. He already knew before he'd signed and said, "Yep, like, that's good. I'm cool with it." So that's the bit that pisses me off more so, is that he knew the situation and what was going to happen and how it was all going to go, and then I think it all got a bit too real for him. It settled in and he thought, actually, you know what, I'm not game for this.
Is that fight gone? Can we expect to see that potentially sometime in 2021?
Yeah, it's not 100% gone. Don't get me wrong. It winds me up that there's like he messed me around, the team around, and we had to try and find someone and fill a gap quite quickly, which we managed to do, fortunately. But it's not 100% off the cards. But yeah, he definitely won't be getting as much leeway second time around if that does come off.
You mentioned obviously you found somebody, an adequate replacement, might I add, in Richard Lartey. Obviously we're very familiar with him over here. Boxed Daniel Dubois, boxed Nathan Gorman very recently. What do you make of him as an opponent? Obviously you would have watched those two fights.
Good. He's good for what he is. You know what you're going to get from him. You know you're going to get someone who's game, who's coming to fight, has no interest in just rolling over whatsoever. He's there to try and take your head off. He throws them big swinging bangs and big right hands, and he's there to stick it on you. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He always comes in shape as well. You've never seen him overweight or out of shape at all. So you know it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a real competitive contest, and something I'm looking forward to get that real dig into them later rounds with someone who's big and who's on you and is putting the work on you. I'm looking forward to showcasing that, because I know them questions from people are still there about me. I haven't done that yet, or I haven't needed to. So can I do it, and how do I look when I'm doing it? So I'm looking forward to answering those questions.
Obviously, you're a fighter with your own style, as every fighter is, but you wouldn't be human if you didn't look at the bits of success that Daniel Dubois had and Nathan Gorman had, and obviously the bits of success that Richard Lartey had. How is your style different to them, and what are you looking to implement on Saturday night?
I think for one, I'm a lot lighter on my feet. I've got a lot quicker feet, so I can get in and get out a lot quicker. My hands are quicker than both Daniel and Nathan, that I can get my shots off and get my work done and then get out. And I think that's where, but that much is obvious, that with Lartey, you know that his most dangerous are kind of mid-range. If you stand there mid-range with him and want to try and slug it out, that's where he's at his best. And my job as a boxer is to take away what you do best and implement my own skills. So that's what I'll be looking to do.
Now, this year's been not ideal for anybody, let alone fighters. Opportunities are very, very difficult to come by. You had a very good win against Simon Vallily the last time out. How important is it for you now, domestically, to keep that momentum going, to produce another big performance against Richard Lartey?
Yeah, massively. I've got there's a little buzz around me now, a little bit of energy, a little bit of vibe that, I am something. I am a bit interesting to watch, and I can compete at a certain level. Is now the questions of how far can I go, what can I do, what happens when I meet these bigger, stronger, tougher guys, and that's what I'm here to prove, and I'm happy with that. I look forward to the challenge. That's what I'm here to do. I know my skills, my team know my skills, Dylan knows what I can do, so it's just about waiting for them opportunities to come and taking advantage of them when they are there.
Before we talk about the rest of the card, you mentioned Dillian Whyte there. His fight, he was due to be fighting this week against Alexander Povetkin in the rematch. That's not happened due to Alexander Povetkin's COVID. Just your thoughts on the whole situation. Do you think the benefit could be for Dillian Whyte potentially having a little bit more time away from the ring?
Yeah, of course. Overall, it's a shame, because I know Dill, and I know he wanted to just get it done and get through and crack on and move forward with his career, and obviously moving towards that WBC title that he's been aiming for so many years now. So I know as what he wanted to do, that's obviously set his plans back quite a bit, but it's how it goes sometimes. And ultimately, if you're going to take positives from it, then yeah, it's more of a positive that he's got more time to prepare, more time to rest and recover and get his body ready, and not just physically but mentally as well.
And also, Povetkin he will be 3 or 4 months older down the line as well. Something else that could potentially go in Dillian Whyte's favour. Yeah,
obviously with Povetkin, he's not getting any younger. He's at the back end of his career more so, but he's always dangerous. He's always gonna, like you saw in the last fight, he's always dangerous until that bell's gone and he's not there anymore. So it's going to be an interesting fight, and obviously it's one that's highly anticipated.
Back to this card, another heavyweight fight, sort of like a cartoonish fight a little bit. Alan Babbage versus Tom Little. I'm very much looking forward to the build-up that we're going to get this week. Alan Babbage, somebody who's also under Dillian Whyte's stable of management. What do you make of that fight?
Great fight, yeah. Great fight of styles of Babbage, who's just come forward, and all he wants to do is separate your head from your shoulders, and that's his plan A, B, and C. Which is brilliant, and he's a great character and a great guy. And then with Tom as well, he's more of the boxing, the sharp hands, the in and out, the quick movement. So I think them two stars together are gonna gel very well. And Tom in no way has ever shied away from a fight either. He's there, he's game, so he's not going to run off. He is going to meet Babbage, and it's going to be a great fight.
Before I catch your opinion on a few things, one thing that I think is somewhat relevant to you at the minute, the WBC Bridgerweight title, which we've spoke about off camera. Just your thoughts on it, really. You're kind of one of the heavyweights who's in and around that 225 limit. You were 230 when you weighed yourself 15 minutes ago. We won't mention how much I was, but he was 230. What do you make of the Bridgerweight title? Is it something that you'd be interested in? You're kind of right around that limit.
Yeah, I'm right in there, and it just has no draw for me, unfortunately. And I think that's as a shame as it is, because the concept of it and the idea of it is good, but it has no interest. There's nothing to it. If they came to me today and said, "Oh, do you want to fight for the WBC Bridgerweight title?" I'd say yeah, probably, but only because I don't have any other options right now. Not because I'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, I've been looking for that's what I want," kind of thing. So it's a difficult one. It's a good idea. I think it just needs a lot more time to be, one, fleshed out, and two, I think you can't just, with the WBC, they can't just do it on their own. They need everyone else to get involved as well, the WBO, WBA. They need to round everyone up and say, look, we need to do this as a unit, because otherwise that makes it even more borderline gimmicky, because I can be the Bridgerweight champion, great, but that doesn't exist nowhere else, so I'm not the champion of anything else. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I think it may be something in a few years' time, something like that. That kind of interest has to build, but right now I've got no interest in it.
Do you have any reservations of fighting the 250 plus guys? Because obviously that's kind of the whole point behind it. I do believe it is a health and safety thing. I don't think it's a money grab from the WBC. I can't see where you would make more money thinning out the heavyweight division. Do you have any reservations fighting those bigger guys? I mean, looking down ahead, if you're looking at titles, you're going to be fighting a 6'6" guy who's 250, 260. You're obviously not that. But do you have any problem with that?
No, not at all. That was a decision I had to make early on, because like I was never going to be, and I never was, a massive heavyweight. I'm big and I'm quite tall, and I'm filling out as I go, and cool, it's all coming together. But I was never one of these massive, like big guys and relied on pure size and pure power. I think everything has its own strengths and weaknesses. Being big and strong and large has its own strengths. It also comes with its own weaknesses. Same with me and my style, that I'm lighter, I'm smaller, I'm quicker. It has its strengths, and it also does have its weaknesses. I think there's no perfect size or perfect weight to be. It's about knowing yourself as a boxer and what things work with you best and what skills go to your size and obviously skill set. So, yeah, it's something that I was never really that worried about. Like I've sparred some of the biggest guys out there, and I've held my own perfectly fine. So once I'd answered those questions in sparring and stuff, I was perfectly fine with it.
Okay, before I let you go, just your opinion on Mr. Deontay Wilder popped up again yesterday. We had some interesting things to say about Dillian Whyte. There's been clamour for that fight and call for that fight for a while. Seems like Mr. Wilder has now come round to the idea if he can't get the trilogy bout with Tyson Fury.
Convenient. Pure convenience. Yeah, it's. I think just the more someone needs to control him or his media or just the way he acts, because he's not garnering himself any type of like recognition at all with any of this, because people are aware that for years when he had the belt, Dylan was at him, and he said, nah, he's not worth it, not worth my time, not good enough, this and that, and went on and on and on, and now all of a sudden he doesn't have the belt. The Fury fight seems to be kind of not happening, or is hanging in the balance at least. And now he's saying, oh yeah, I want to fight Dill, I want to fight this guy, I want to fight that. Like, hang on, what's going on here? You said he wasn't good enough before, so what's happened? He's better now, or what's the crack with it really? So, yeah, I think just the more and more kind of self-promoting he seems to be doing is just digging himself a bigger and bigger hole.
All being well for Dillian Whyte, and he comes through the rematch of Alexander Povetkin, if it is that January 30th date that they're aiming for, or slightly later. Do you think that's a fight that would interest him if Tyson Fury goes off and boxes Anthony Joshua, and you've got Dillian Whyte there and Deontay Wilder, albeit not for a world title? Do you think Dillian Whyte would still win that fight?
Yeah, I think it's WBC dependent. If there's a clear route to obviously fighting for the world title, then Dill's not going to do anything other than go for that, regardless of however much talk that Wilder goes on for. But if it's set in stone that there's no way you can get a hold of it for X amount of time, then yeah, I think Dill would always look towards that fight, because it's a great fight in itself. It'll build a lot of interest. Obviously, Wilder's got a large mouth, so he'll have a lot to say, and it'll be a big fight and a big build up. And then if he beats Wilder as well, that is that's a nod to say, you know what, actually, he's done the same as Fury now. He's beat him, so that WBC title should come his way a bit. But we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Yeah, these things have a funny way of dragging on and stories get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
But yes, before I let you go, just finally, big news in the last 24-ish hours. I don't know because I'm in quarantine. It's all stood still. Canelo Alvarez versus Callum-Smith. Yes. Callum-Smith got himself the biggest fight in boxing. How do you see that fight playing out?
I always want to back a Brit. I do, but I think Canelo's just skill and class is undeniable. You can't. There's no way you can shy away from it. But I think out of the guys out there, I think Callum does have the strongest chance against Canelo just for his pure size and power, and he's difficult to get to. I know obviously Canelo has proven he can deal with big guys by going up to Kovalev, but that's different. Kovalev's he was at the later stages of his career. He's older, he's weathered. You can wear him through a bit more, and then, like you see, you get to him in the later rounds. But with Callum, he's a lot younger, a lot fresher. Everything's going to be a lot sharper. He's going to sting with all those punches. So it's going to be interesting to see, to be honest. And he's got obviously a bit of not inside knowledge, but obviously his brothers fought him, so we can see how that goes. And in terms of them discussing the fight and reviewing it, and they can give him some actual information to say, oh, when I was in there he did this, and when he went that way I went this way, and that worked and didn't work. So it's almost, that's quite helpful because you've had someone that's gone through it already right next to you who's going to fill you in on everything.
Okay, well, before I let you go, it wouldn't be right not to give you the opportunity to plug your podcast, which has been doing very well. I've been keeping up to date with it, and if you could just let Boxing Social fans know what sleeping advice you would give to them if they're struggling to get off to sleep at night. Fabio Wardley's got something to tell you.
I don't know. So, the podcast thing's been quite a bit of fun, to be honest. It's been real good to kind of dip into. It's just a bit like wild and wacky almost, that we just talk about anything and everything. Like I wanted it to stay away from boxing a touch. Like obviously it's inevitable that I'm going to talk about it and fights and this and that, but I wanted it to just be general and just kind of anything and everything and life and stories and whatever else. But yeah, on the most recent episode, there was a masturbation segment of when and where it's used and for what purposes. But for the full info on that, you'll have to check it out. It's called Clearly Confused, and it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we've got the full video of it on YouTube as well. So good.
And that's the video of the podcast,
yes.
Not what else he was talking about, for anybody who's confused out there. Always a pleasure, Fabio. Hopefully your Stark Raven Lunatic fan base can see this and stop sending me death threats. Yeah. Always a pleasure catching up with you. I'm sure we will do again before you return to the ring this Saturday against Richard Lartey. Thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.